How's it going, everybody? My name's Kyle, and over the last year, I have been designing a electric subsurface gold dredge. This is it. So we're running 12 volts to a Seaflow 3,700 gallon per hour bilge pump. I've got a special impeller for this bilge pump. The stock impeller versus my impeller gives you a slight improvement, say 20% better suction, not required, sold separately. And through a 15 millimeter jet suction nozzle, which I determined was the optimal size after doing a bunch of tests earlier in the year, rather than with the stock impeller getting 3.5 psi, I'm able to get 4.4 psi using this close-faced impeller. The suction nozzle is sold separately to the dredge, and I just wanted to do that because somebody might have their own surface sluice box they want to run this. You can do that, just keep your box as close to the water surface as possible if you're using this pump to maximize your suction. Subsurface is going to give you the best suction, and the higher out of the water you go, the more you lose suction. But this nozzle, basically, it prints without supports. I've got this little curve designed in a really nice way, and it's designed to be printed 100% infill. It's just a solid piece of plastic. It's incredibly strong and durable, and this particular one I'm holding is printed out of ABS plastic, similar to the PVC your hose is made out of as far as wear is concerned. Untested, but I'm pretty sure this will actually last a pretty decent time. Also, there's a threaded fitting at the front here, so you can take a crevicing nozzle like this and swap that out for whatever different tip you want to experiment with. This tip is a little narrower, so you don't get big rocks going up and plugging something. So if you're dredging and a rock gets sucked up to the nozzle, this has enough suction, it'll get stuck to the nozzle. You can lift it up with that. You just pull it off, toss it, keep dredging, pull it off, toss it, and you don't have to worry about watching which ones are gonna go up the nozzle and get plugged for you. So pretty good for a beginner to just go out and clean out a crack. And if this wears out, just print that piece rather than the entire nozzle, and you're gonna get a lot more life out of it. So this sold separately. The dredge itself right here, I'm gonna make sure I touch on my whole list of stuff here. But first, the demonstration of how this might work is these little pieces here, you print and glue on there and there, and those are your float holders. So because this is a subsurface sluice, it kind of holds its own weight in the water, and it just sits right underwater. So it does not take a lot in order to actually float the thing. So this just provides that stability, keeps it level and in the water. And if you simply screw these water bottles on, any sort of a pop bottle like this, or like a smart water bottle, I would suggest if you got these 1 liter smart water bottle style bottles, at least in North America, these are pretty popular in the outdoors community. It's like hiking water bottles. That'll give you a lot of stability, and but it does not take much. So with these here, this floats, and what I've got is this little tip here threads on to the front of the flare. And this specific one happens to thread onto this ducting hose. So this is an EOLO ducting hose, whatever that means. And this is just specifically modeled to this. But I don't have access to every single type of dredge hose you might be using. So I also modeled a universal one of these, which doesn't have the threads in it. It's just a little bit bigger. So whatever size hose you have, you can just fit it into here. If your hose is a little loose, put some tape around your hose. You can either glue it or tape it on. This stays permanently on your hose. And then when you want to hook it up to the dredge, you simply thread it on. So we thread this thing together. And just note how everything's held together really nice. This isn't coming apart. But that is now just going to be floating over there, nice and level, capturing all of your gold. This guy, we're going to plug in over here. The nozzle comes with, like for this feed pressure port, this is the 1 1/8" bilge hose, and this is 1.5 inches, but I also have a nozzle with the 1.5 inch fitting on it. So when you buy the nozzle pack, you get all the options. I just thought this hose was a little smaller to carry around, and it doesn't seem to affect pressure much. So here I am dredging away, getting into cracks, crevices. This bilge pump can just be sitting anywhere in the creek. You know, I'm just working shallow water here. You don't need to float that. I happen to have a Pelican case. I'm using an 18-volt tool battery with a DC to DC converter, which brings it down to 12 volts. And I've just got an XT60 connector coming out the top and a little switch. These XT60 connectors, they'll take up to 60 amps. If you put a little dielectric grease on the fitting, you can use this basically just in the water. You don't have to worry about protecting it, and you shouldn't have too much of a parasitic loss across there, even in salt water, if you use some dielectric grease on there to keep it all sealed up. But if you don't want a waterproof Pelican case, you could just, like, they actually sell on the internet extension cords, like a 10 gauge, nice heavy cable with the XT60 connectors on each end. So you could have a 100 amp hour battery sitting on shore and just run like a 20-foot extension cord to your bilge pump, and then float this around, and you're pretty free to work an area without needing an actual floating battery to follow you along. But that is on you. So you get to figure out what you're going to do with your battery, and you got to get your own Seaflow 3,700 gallon per hour bilge pump. If you want to buy the impeller, you can purchase this separately, but the whole system will work just with a stock bilge pump. And there's one option. There's how you would actually run this thing. Now, I figured I would include the option in case you don't want to deal with a hose. You want something extra compact. Let me show you how that will work. All we need to do is unscrew our hose right there, and we can take our suction nozzle and we can screw it directly with this flared section. So the way it works is the diameter is always increasing as we go to make sure that we don't get any plug ups. So if I just turn that on like so, the nozzle is the narrowest and it fits inside the 2-inch hose. The 2-inch hose then fits inside of this fitting, which is flush on the inside and goes into here. So to take place of that hose, this flares open so that it's always getting bigger and you're not going to get plug ups. Now, you might be noticing the two colors. It was just the filament I had handy. This is a translucent PETG, apparently the same material pop bottles are made out of. Similar mechanical properties to the ABS, like roughly. Good impact resistance. ABS is a little bit more temperature resistant, but you can print this out of whatever you want, really. Even PLA, which is like the basic, easiest thing to print with, except if you do it with PLA, I would just recommend a light color in case you leave it out in the hot sun with the threads and everything. You don't want it like warping in the heat, and I've heard that that can happen. So that's why I used ABS and PETG for this. Obviously there's really incredible filaments out there like carbon fiber nylons, and sky's the limit. You download this file, you can print it with whatever you want. I'm using a Bamboo Labs P1S printer and it seems to work great. So I think the maximum height is about 235 millimeters and the Bamboo Labs goes up to 256. So whatever printer you're using, so long as you're within that range, you can print this thing. Now with this setup, all I would do is, since I don't need the hose anymore, same thing. I got a battery on shore, an extension cord coming to my pump, or the battery's in a backpack if I'm just kneeling in shallow water. And I take this, I plug it directly into my nozzle, and wherever I want to run this thing, there we go. It's just going to float around behind me. But in this orientation, I would remove the front bottles like that. Now, because this is a subsurface sluice, the angle is less important in this direction. If it was a surface sluice and you ran it like this, water would be going through it very, very quickly. Here it would be very, very slowly, and it wouldn't even run like this. But because this is just a self-contained tube, this angle does not affect the velocity of the water traveling through. You obviously wouldn't want to dredge at this angle because the riffles aren't going to work right, but anything within about 10 degrees, you're okay. So this stays right up at the surface, floats, kind of keeps it level, and if the water's only this deep and you're trying to, get these bedrock cracks, you can just go around and get the cracks. The nozzle also comes with an extender that brings it out a little further, and you can put your crevicing tip on the end of that, and you actually get a good reach with this nozzle. You can just go around without needing to pack a bulky hose. So I'm going to pull this thing apart and just sort of show you how it would all print out, how you put it together, and we'll have a look at the riffles and sort of how this comes apart. All right, so we'll set that there. Make sure I'm not getting eaten by any wonderful Australian wildlife. And where are we? So basically each one of these segments can be printed separately. Well, they are printed separately, and you can put as many together as you want. So you could have this thing, you know, 2-3 meters long. There's going to be a practical limit where it's not strong enough to hold itself together anymore, but I like this with 3 segments. I think that's a pretty good point where you'd probably be capturing a good amount of gold. That's one of the things where I haven't had the opportunity to properly give this a test, where I test all sorts of different riffles. I'm in the future going to spend like a month just testing riffles. And I want to do something where, you know, I change the depth of the riffle and then do a test A to B. And then the size of the riffle. Does it make sense to have more smaller riffles or fewer bigger riffles? What angles? All of those things need extensive testing. This is an idea that I put a lot of thought into, but it hasn't been properly tested at this point. So that's my disclaimer. There's 2 riffle options. We'll show you what that is. But if you're going to purchase this thing, and you know, you purchase this as one part, you purchase the nozzle as another part, and if you want that bonus suction, you can purchase the impeller. I'm only selling the impeller as a physical product for now. Everything else is going to be digital downloads. And to anyone who has no interest in getting a 3D printer, I will sell a physical version of this. But first, I need to source the perfect hose. There's a few things I want to add before I put this all in a box and make it like 100% ready. So that'll be like mid 2025. You can expect to buy this in a box ready to go. If you have a 3D printer, you can buy the file and you can have this right now, and it works great. Like it actually captures gold. It's awesome. Don't know how I know that. This flare at the front is sort of the first piece. So you've got the thing you screw in, whether you want a hose or the direct nozzle. This piece right here, it prints vertically like this, and then there's a little bottle cap on each side that you glue in. I'm using CA, cyanoacrylate, and that's what I use to glue this to this and that in here. Whatever glue works, whatever filament you're using, you may need to adjust your glue. And these little bands, I'm just going to demonstrate pulling this whole thing apart. So the bottom clicks off, and that just adds a little extra strength. So this is still working, this band by itself. That's just like extra insurance. So we just flex the band off. Now these bands, they can flex right to being able to touch themselves and not break. Plastic is actually pretty tough stuff. And with that band off there, it holds itself together with a little, there's like a little pin right there and a spot in there, but it comes apart now. So you can slide it together, it'll hold itself on there nice and conveniently. And when you're ready to go, you slip a clip on, and if you, like that holds itself enough, but if you really want it tight, you put the clip underneath. So we're just gonna pull this off and pull this off. So there, it all comes apart. And if we look at this next section here, the riffle, I can't pull the riffles off. It's not gonna go anywhere. But when I pull the band, now the riffle can come off and the piece can come apart. And the 2 riffle profiles we have, I've got a drop riffle, and my design concept here is sort of a Hungarian angle iron riffle mixed with drop riffle, and I've got some linear dividers as well. So if you tip the sluice from side to side, you're going to see less loss because you may get a little rocking back and forth. I think this is a pretty solid profile, but I would like to, of course, spend like a month just testing the exact best possible riffle for this. But that works, and you just print it up, clip it in, make as many as you want. This profile here has miner's moss and little mini riffles on top. So these riffles are essentially emulating expanded metal, but they're better because instead of diamonds, they're actually going straight across. They've got a little lip behind them, and they still have the vertical or the, you know, linear dividers. And to take this off, it sort of clips in. So you just press these holes in the bottom, and that's your riffle tray. That's your piece of miner's moss. And there's your empty tray. So you just stick your miner's moss back in, and it kind of presses in. I've got it so that like the moss by itself, you can run it with nothing on there if you want. And then this tray, it clips in on top, and it actually snaps itself into place, at which point there's an arrow telling you your direction of flow, which I believe is that away. Nope, that away. that clips onto the bottom, and now your unit is ready. So we're gonna pop that into there. You get a little clip ring, snap that on, get your little under clip ring piece, snap that on, and that's not going anywhere. It's not coming apart. It's ready to rock. So as many of these as you need, and then at the end, this little flare unit and float mount, I'll just pop this off to demonstrate. This piece is a place to mount your rear float, and it happens to have a flare. And this little flare, for whatever magical reason, increases your suction. It basically, you take the velocity of the water, sort of changes pressure just a little bit right here, and that gives you that little bit of extra suction as well. So altogether, the whole thing can be carried around in little segments like this. We just reassemble this guy, and you can, while it's in this position, so you don't lose your bands, you can just store your bands on either end of it. Yep, you get this on here. There we go. Another band on here. Oh, there we go. And the band under here. Woo! Crouching down, so I'm trying to frame myself a little better, but of course, it gets a little tiring. But yeah, these little segments, like however many of those you want, you just stick them all together, and then you get a really long sluice if you want a really long sluice. And if you just want a single segment, you can use that too. And for example, a single segment, little float piece on here, and this thread on piece, like it's just a tiny little backpacking machine. Use an 18-volt battery and the DC to DC converter, little extension cord. Like the weight on this system is so minuscule. You can pack a wetsuit and everything all into a backpack with lunch, all in one trip. And yeah, so it is what it is. Let me just quickly go over the list here. Okay, so I think I already went over most of this, but to buy this thing, the entire sluice system, the floats, all of this is going to be listed on the website. The prices, check the website. I don't know exactly in this video if a year from now everything's going to be the same, but I'm thinking right now it's going to be 30 bucks for the whole sluice, everything. 20 bucks for that nozzle with all of the crevicing tips and extension and everything like that. So all together for 50 bucks, which if you're like an Australian or Canadian carpenter, basically 1 hour's work or half a gram of gold these days, you can get this system. If you want the bonus suction, this impeller will not be a file. I'm only going to send this out in a little envelope. I made a whole video about this. It's a little tricky to print. You need a multi-filament printer to get it to work right. And because it's so lightweight and easy to ship, I'm just going to ship this to you as a physical thing in an envelope. And that price will be on the website as well. But everything here, get a battery, stick it on shore, extension cord to your bilge pump, print the sluice, print the nozzle, and you're mining for gold. This is not for resale. That's the only thing. Now, I understand if you print one out and your friend says, man, that's awesome, I want one too. You say, well, I've got the file, I'll print you one out. I understand that might happen, but I don't want anyone like starting an online business where they're just printing these things and selling them in boxes to people. This is a personal use file that I'm selling, and that's just what I'm hoping for now. I'm pretty sure most people understand, like I just unplugged my 3D printer. I'm about to get on a plane and head back to Canada to build some high bankers. I was at 1,068 hours prototyping time this year to make this thing, and I want to be able to justify continuing doing this thing. So this is my attempt to, turn my passion into a bit of an income. And if you want to support what I'm doing, I think this is a very reasonable price considering the number of hours I've put into it. So I really want to see some guys get this, get using it, give me some feedback, and see if we can just build on this and make it better. But yeah, I'm really happy with how it all goes together. So that's all I can say is it's a personal use file. If you buy one, somebody else wants one, send them to the website. Hopefully they can buy one as well. I understand, especially in certain countries, maybe $50 is a huge amount of money that, you know, you might want to share that file with your friends, but just there's no selling this on Etsy as a physical product. That's all I'm saying. If you have no interest in 3D printers, I will put this as a package in a box sometime mid next year, and we'll make sure that I can get this out to you. Future ideas, we'll save that for future videos, but needless to say, there will be a brushless electric 3-inch version of this at some point. I'm going to leave it at that. If there's anything I left out, I'll make sure to write this up in the description. www.utmostoutdoors.com is my website where these files will be for sale. And as far as the riffle trays are concerned, potentially once, again, I've got some other stuff to do, but once I get around to it, I can do a bunch of tests on this, and if I come up with a significantly better riffle tray, I can make that available for free on the website for anyone who's already purchased this package. But get this thing out there, get it in the rivers, make some videos, tag me in those videos, email me videos of this thing running wherever you are. I would love to see it. And if you don't have a 3D printer, Bambu Labs P1S, I cannot recommend that thing enough. It's awesome. Or talk to a friend who has one. Get yourself this thing. It's awesome. I'm just going to basically reassemble this thing as, I don't know, done talking to the camera. I've said what I need to say. I need to stand up. My knees are just, whoa. I don't really know how else to frame this, but this is awesome. I hope a few of you actually want to pick this up, and I hope that it gets you that ½ gram of gold on the first outing. Here we go. Snap it apart. Very, very strong. Let's put this together in order of here. So, yeah, where is, there we go. That's on the end of the hose. So we'll thread this off the hose, and we'll thread that onto here. And then we'll clip our first piece together like that. Second piece like that, third piece like that, and it holds itself together, but it would fall apart. You wouldn't want to risk losing your gold like that. If you do take it all apart, it's pretty simple. One end won't drop, the other end will. So you just drop the end like this, take the tray, dump it into a gold pan. I think you would do that if you were using the miner's moss, but for the drop riffles, leave it completely assembled, tip it upside down, and pour it into a bucket. Cleanup's done. Let's slap these bands on here. And there's the PETG translucent band. That's there. A little tail end piece, slap that on. What am I missing here? Where is... There it is. There we go. Okay. And put these little safety clips on the bottom. Pretty sure you could get away without these, but if I happen to have a big handful of nuggets in this thing, I would probably want it as securely held together as possible. So might as well do that. And with it all together, 3 sections. It's not going anywhere. Can't pull the trays out. The way this all fits together, even if I have to modify the riffle profile or like change something else very slightly, like this thing is awesome. Might as well get my floats off. If you want to be real efficient, well, you might as well bring yourself some delicious fizzy drink as you hike in, and then when you get there and you need it to become a float, you drink the drink. And then screw it on. You won't believe how complicated bottle caps are, by the way. There's like 3 international standards bodies for like which threads you can actually use to screw on top of a bottle. And some other outdoors company was like, oh, well, we needed to like find like the balance between all the threads so that it could fit this type of bottle and that type of bottle. This is based on like a PCO 1881 pop bottle, which is like the current Coca-Cola standard, and either way, it'll fit most pop bottles. This can go over here. And before I hike back to my car, we'll just pop this apart. I think this can stay together as one piece. Yeah. This, like, even if you don't have an on-off switch, it's soldered well. You can just unplug it like that. If you're still watching, congratulations on, I don't know, I should probably just cut this all out of the video, but I'm gonna pack everything into this bag, and that's it. Head to utmostoutdoors.com if you would like to purchase this stuff. And just remember, impeller is a separate sale, nozzle is a separate sale, sluice is a separate sale. It'd be 20 bucks and 30 bucks is what I'm thinking. And I'll figure out how to do this as cheap as I can as far as like free shipping or something like that. It should be pretty simple to ship this globally. So for now, physical product only. Or use the stock one, test it out first. You'll be happy with the suction even with this. Okay. Yeah, so I'll carry that. Might as well plug that in. My little notes book. Hopefully I've told you what I need to tell you. And there we go. So, battery, subsurface sluice box, hose. Just got to grab that camera, head to my car. I fly out of here tomorrow, and it's time to work on high bankers for a little while. So, cheers. Thanks for watching.